A catastrophic magnitude 7.5 earthquake struck Venezuela early on June 26, 2026, leading to a humanitarian crisis of staggering proportions. Hundreds are dead and thousands are missing. Here's a comprehensive look at the unfolding disaster. As Venezuela grapples with the aftermath of this devastating earthquake, several critical developments are anticipated in the coming days. The quake, which struck with unprecedented force, has left many regions in ruins, exacerbating an already dire humanitarian situation. For years, Venezuela has faced economic turmoil, political unrest, and widespread poverty, which have severely limited the nation's ability to respond effectively to disasters. International aid mobilization is expected from organizations such as the United Nations and the World Health Organization, along with neighboring countries like Colombia and Brazil, which are preparing to deploy emergency teams and supplies within 24 to 48 hours. However, the Venezuelan diaspora raises concerns about potential logistical bottlenecks and corruption that could hinder timely aid delivery, a problem that has plagued the country for years. Search and rescue operations will continue, and the race to find survivors has become increasingly urgent. The highest probability of locating living victims decreases significantly after the first 72 hours, making this a critical window for rescue efforts. Advanced technology, including drones and seismic sensors, will play a crucial role in locating trapped individuals, but access to these resources may be limited due to infrastructure damage. Additionally, there is a real possibility of mass displacement as families are forced to leave their homes due to the destruction, further straining an already overwhelmed social safety net. The government's ability to manage this crisis will be tested, and the social and political ramifications could be profound. As Venezuela navigates this unprecedented crisis, the effectiveness of both domestic and international responses will ultimately shape the nation's recovery trajectory and resilience in the face of future disasters. Immediate and coordinated efforts are essential to mitigate the long-term impacts on the population and infrastructure. Venezuela has recently faced devastating earthquakes, measuring 7.2 and 7.5 on the Richter scale, a magnitude rarely seen in this region. These seismic events, triggered by the sudden release of stress along a fault line in northern Venezuela, caused widespread destruction and chaos. The tremors were felt across much of the country, leaving thousands homeless and in dire need of assistance. Venezuela's geographical location places it along the Caribbean-South American plate boundary, an area known for complex tectonic interactions that can lead to significant seismic activity. However, the tragedy is compounded by Venezuela's prolonged socio-economic crisis, which has persisted for years. Hyperinflation, rampant currency devaluation, and economic mismanagement have decimated public services and left critical infrastructure in disrepair. This lack of preparedness has proven catastrophic, as buildings crumbled under the seismic pressure, exacerbating the already dire humanitarian situation. Political instability has further hindered the government's ability to respond effectively, complicating coordination with international aid agencies and delaying crucial relief efforts. The healthcare system, already on the brink of collapse, is now overwhelmed with trauma cases resulting from the earthquakes. Hospitals, struggling with shortages of medical supplies and personnel, face an urgent crisis as they attempt to treat the influx of injured citizens. The combination of a powerful natural disaster and a fragile state has created a perfect storm of crisis, where human vulnerabilities amplify the impact of geological events. Looking ahead, the path to recovery will be fraught with challenges. Venezuela's government must prioritize rebuilding efforts while simultaneously addressing the underlying socio-economic issues that have left the nation so vulnerable. Without sustainable solutions that address both immediate needs and long-term stability, the population may find it increasingly difficult to withstand future disasters and rebuild their shattered lives. The recent earthquake in Venezuela has unleashed a humanitarian disaster of staggering proportions. Reports indicate that around 50,000 individuals are currently unaccounted for, while the death toll has tragically surpassed 900. This calamity ranks among the deadliest natural disasters of the 21st century, reminiscent of the catastrophic Haiti earthquake in 2010, which devastated a nation already in turmoil. The scale of this disaster is not merely a local concern, it reverberates across global humanitarian networks and underscores the urgent need for international response. Venezuela, already mired in severe economic and political instability, now faces the real threat of governance collapse. The country has struggled with hyperinflation, food shortages, and widespread poverty for years, making the impact of this earthquake even more devastating. The infrastructure, already dilapidated from years of mismanagement and neglect, is ill-equipped to handle such a crisis. Hospitals, many of which were already operating at reduced capacity, are overwhelmed with casualties, and emergency services are stretched to their limits. As the situation unfolds, this disaster may precipitate a massive refugee crisis, as those affected seek safety and stability in neighboring countries like Colombia and Brazil. Both nations, already grappling with their own socio-economic issues, may find their resources stretched thin as they contend with an influx of displaced individuals. The potential for increased tensions in these border regions is significant, raising concerns about regional stability. As humanitarian organizations scramble to provide assistance, significant challenges loom large. The delivery of international aid is hindered by logistical obstacles and concerns about corruption within the Venezuelan government. Reports suggest that bureaucratic red tape may delay critical relief efforts, exacerbating the suffering of those in desperate need. Furthermore, scientists have raised alarms regarding the Caribbean seismic zone's vulnerability, indicating that neighboring areas, including parts of Colombia and the Dominican Republic, may also be at risk for future seismic events. The implications of this disaster reach far beyond immediate humanitarian concerns. Without swift and coordinated international intervention, the risks of disease outbreaks, starvation, and mass displacement could escalate dramatically. The coming weeks will be critical in determining whether Venezuela can stabilize and begin to recover from this devastating event, emphasizing the necessity for a robust and unified global response. In the early hours of June 26, 2026, Venezuela experienced two of the most powerful earthquakes in its modern history. The first tremor, registering at magnitude 7.2, struck at 2:33 a.m. local time, followed almost immediately by a more severe quake measuring 7.5 at 2:37 a.m. These seismic waves rippled through the capital Caracas, causing widespread panic as buildings collapsed and residents scrambled to evacuate. As of today, the death toll has tragically surged to 920, with authorities reporting nearly 50,000 individuals unaccounted for, representing a staggering human tragedy. Social media has been flooded with heartbreaking stories, including one of a mother who perished while attempting to save her daughter from the rubble. The quakes resulted in catastrophic structural damage across the city, reducing residential blocks and skyscrapers to piles of concrete. Caracas, a city with a history of infrastructural challenges, faced unprecedented devastation due to aging buildings and inadequate emergency preparedness. The government had struggled with economic instability for years, which has severely hampered investment in critical infrastructure and disaster readiness. Rescuers have been working tirelessly, employing heavy machinery and manual digging to locate survivors amidst the debris. Search dogs and advanced acoustic sensors scan for signs of life, but the relentless aftershocks continue to complicate rescue efforts. The sheer scale of destruction has overwhelmed local emergency services, prompting urgent calls for international assistance. Countries across the globe are responding, with offers of aid pouring in from nations like Colombia, Brazil, and the United States. Humanitarian organizations are mobilizing resources to provide food, medical supplies, and shelter to the thousands displaced. In the aftermath of this tragedy, the Venezuelan government faces immense pressure to address both immediate relief efforts and long-term recovery strategies. The path ahead will require significant international cooperation and investment to rebuild a resilient infrastructure capable of withstanding future natural disasters. As search and rescue operations continue, the focus will also shift toward mental health support for survivors grappling with loss and trauma. The resilience of the Venezuelan people will be tested, but hope remains as communities come together to support one another in this time of crisis. What will be the long-term effects of this disaster on Venezuela and its neighbors? Share your thoughts in the comments below and subscribe for daily deep dives into the world's most pressing issues.